Hey, Shalom Markin. This is Rakam Akapash from GMS London, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem Chach Wadash. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful elect, preaching the truth in all sincerity. Back again with another video, another lesson. And today I'm going to be asking GPT if all conspiracy theories are untrue, right? And this is inspired by the old apostles video. I believe Apostle Ram was the one that originally did it. I think the video was called "No Such Thing," right? And the video was getting into the idea that some of these people would teach out there that reptilians exist and whatnot, right? Right? And that's just a bogus conspiracy theory perpetrated, being pushed by David Icke that's out there, right? But and this is why people don't want to believe everything that they hear, and understandably so, right? Because some of the shit out there is wild in terms of these conspiracy theories, right? But are they all untrue, right? And that's what we're gonna get into today. So ask ChatGPT, are all conspiracy theories untrue? And it's returned here. It says not all conspiracy theories are untrue, but the vast majority of them tend to be exaggerated, right? Which is the truth. A lot of them are blown out of proportion or whatever the case may be. But there are some conspiracy theories that are not believed because they sound wild, but are actually true. All right. And so we're going to see if we can, get ChatGPT to admit that. We'll see. Some are true, right, that are not believed because, as it's going to go into say, there's the lack of evidence and all these different types of things. But let's see what ChatGPT will admit, right? So it says not all conspiracy theories are untrue, but the vast majority of them tend to be exaggerated, misinformed, or based on false or incomplete evidence. And this is this idea that there's going to be evidence. If there was evidence, how would it be secret? Because conspiracy theory is something not known to the vast majority of people, known by a very, very few people. Something that's going on in the background in secret that no one knows about. So how would there necessarily be evidence? Can evidence be manipulated? And that's probably what I'll ask next, right? Can evidence be manipulated? All right? Because this is the real world we're living in. We know shit like this goes on, right? Pardon me. It says there are certainly instances in history where conspiracies were real, like government cover-ups or corporate fraud, right? Which is known after the fact. It's all well and good saying, "Oh, it's a conspiracy theory that was true after it's happened," because there's the proof, there's the evidence is there. But during it, no one knew it was going on, and to say it, you sound like you're a fucking idiot or you're crazy. While it was being done, nobody knew about it, because if everyone knew about it, it would have got started in the first place. But there was no evidence of it at the beginning, right? There's evidence once it was bust down, right? And this is what we're simply saying about the global elite and stuff like that. Yeah, these men are on some shit, man. They're doing shit behind the scenes and they're putting all this stuff together, right? And it sounds crazy, right? But in the end, you're going to see it, because everything's going to happen and manifest itself the way we've been saying it's going to happen and manifest itself, right? According to the scriptures, right? But during it, like, oh, there's lack of evidence for this. They're not said. No one said that they're going to try and make everybody a slave with the mark of the beast. Oh yeah, because they're just going to come out and say that, aren't they? Right? They're going to let you in on the conspiracy, right? Don't be stupid, man. So the evidence doesn't usually appear until afterwards, after it's been revealed. It's not during the conspiracy. No one knows about it. That's the whole point, right? So anyway, so there are certainly instances in history where conspiracies were real, like government cover-ups or corporate fraud, right? So we know it happens. But most conspiracy theories are either based on misunderstandings, misinformation, or deliberate manipulation of facts. Who manipulates the facts? The key difference is often the lack of verifiable evidence, right? For most conspiracy theories. Real conspiracy theories are typically uncovered through diligent investigation and hard evidence after, not during, right? Obviously, someone has to bring it out into the open, and then obviously it's not a conspiracy anymore. But like, it can go on for ages before anyone notices or anyone is able to prove anything. And so, in that time here, it's easy to say, "Oh yeah, you're just crazy," because they do that, right? Because it hasn't been revealed yet, right? While many conspiracy theories remain unproven or rely on shaky logic, emotional appeal, or selective interpretation of facts, a good rule of thumb is to critically examine the source, right? And this is the thing, right? We know because of the source, which is the scriptures. We know these things are true or likely to be true because of the scriptures. The scriptures is the source, right? We know we're dealing with an elite, right? We know we're dealing with guys, these elites are the wicked, right? And they're dealing secret, right? They got a global plan. We know this, right? So to believe it is not really difficult for us because we can see what's happening. We know how they're moving, right? We see how they're moving, right? So while a good rule of thumb is critically examine the source, the evidence presented, and whether the claims hold up under scrutiny. Right? Sometimes there's no evidence, or not yet, or the evidence is kind of there, but you don't take it as evidence. You don't think that's evident enough, right? And whether the claims hold up under scrutiny, is also useful to ask whether there is a plausible, simpler explanation for the events in question, right? So let's see, what shall we ask it next, right? Right. Let's ask it this: were any conspiracy theories thought to be untrue that were actually true? I mean, no, not were that turned out to be true. Give example. Right, let's see what it pops up with. All right, so it's possible, or we know it is, but like, to be living in a conspiracy theory, right, that you think is not true, right, but turns out to be true, right? So we're gonna wait. That's a deep one, right? Oh, okay, man. Okay, let's read some of this, right? Yes, there have been instances where what started as a conspiracy theory turned out to be true. Here are some few notable examples: the Watergate scandal, right? I think that's with Nixon, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. Conspiracy theory. Many people thought that the idea that high-ranking government officials were involved in a break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters was far-fetched. Truth. It was later revealed that Nixon administration had orchestrated the break-in and attempted to cover it up. The investigation led to the resignation of President Richard Nixon, making it one of the most significant political scandals in U.S. history. MK Ultra. Say they'll tell you it ended in 1970s because that's what they announced the end of it in the 70s, right? But that shit is still out there, right? Conspiracy theory. For years, it was speculated, mere speculation, lack of evidence, right, that the US government was conducting mind control experiments on citizens using techniques like LSD and other drugs. Truth. In 1970s, it was confirmed through government documents and testimonies that the CIA had indeed run secret experiments under a program called MK Ultra, right? So what we're gonna find out, a lot of these things that, or some of these things, maybe not a lot of them, but some of these things that we that people talk about, or a lot of the things that we talk about, okay, we'll put it like this, right? That there's lack of evidence in terms of like paperwork and whatever, right? It's gonna turn out one day, right? And it's gonna become evident in front of people's faces this was going on. Okay, Because if you like, we know that these governments they operate with shady things. All these secret intelligence agencies, man, you don't know what the fuck they're doing, right? And they can't tell you, right? And then you all of a sudden you'll get a leak, supposed leak, some kind of what do they call that? You know, someone that leaves the agency or whatever, and it starts talking stupidness, right? The things that they leak are things that they want you to think, right? They are manipulating your thoughts and what you think, right? So the things they don't want you to know, you don't really find out. If they want you to know about them to cause some sort of situation, then they'll let it go. They'll let it go out there so people can, talk about it. And, some people will believe it, some people won't, and that whole debate goes around on the internet these days, right? Yeah, they have people talking and whispering these things, and, some people sound crazy because they start talking these things. But, you're going to find that a lot of this stuff was going on and it's going to come out at some point, right? When I don't know when it was found out, to be fair, but Truth in the 1970s was confirmed through government documents and testimonies that the CIA had indeed run secret experiments on a program called MK Ultra. They conducted unethical experiments on unwitting individuals in an attempt to develop mind control techniques during the Cold War. Tuskegee syphilis study that went on for 40 years. Mad. Conspiracy theory. For decades, rumors circulated that the US government was allowing African American men with syphilis to go untreated to study the progression of the disease. Right? And this shows you how much the devil these men are. Right? And the lies and secrets that they'll hold and keep back. Right? Truth, it was eventually revealed that between 1932 and 1972, the US Public Health Service conducted a study on black men with syphilis, denying them treatment even after penicillin became widely available, to observe the natural cause of the disease. The study was only stopped when it became public in 1972, leading to a widespread outage. And this is why they were trying to get you man to take the the stab and jab, not too long ago, right? With the whole CV. Operation Gladio, Cold War era. Conspiracy theory. Some believe that NATO was secretly involved in creating and supporting far-right paramilitary groups in Europe. Oh, so they back war. Oh, who would have thought? To counter political Soviet influence. Right, and there's still, this is why NATO's pushes for war, right, and encroaching on Russia's borders. It's because of what they're doing, as opposed to what Russia's doing. Russia's retaliating. Anyway, Truth in 1990s declassified documents confirmed that NATO, through its stay-behind operations, had helped establish and support clandestine armed groups in Europe during the Cold War, especially in countries like Italy, France. These groups were part of a strategy to prevent communist movements from gaining power. So they were sabotaging, these different nations. And this is the same thing's going on now, because democracy first, right? These men are about pushing their ideology in the world. No one else can have their own. So they must be eradicated, right? So they're constantly at war and doing secret operations against other nations. This is the world we're living in, man. Like, demons. You know what I'm saying? COINTELPRO, conspiracy theory. There were long-standing rumors that the FBI was involved in spying on sabotaging civil rights movements and activist groups. Yeah, and they still do it. All these agent provocateurs and all these different protest groups and stuff like that. Truth, it was later revealed through whistleblowing and declassified documents that the FBI had been running a covert program called COINTELPRO to infiltrate and undermine civil rights organizations, including the Black Panther Party and the Martin Luther King Jr.'s South Christian Leadership Conference. Right, so I ain't gonna read anymore. So these man, it's funny that all these are government related, or and this is exactly who we're talking about. Your leaders, your governments, right? They are operating against people, right? The global elite who own them, right, rule over them, right? That elect them, put them in power, is the ones calling the shots, and they have an agenda against people. Why does that sound crazy? The evidence is here that they do this consistently, right? They consistently do this, right? And when they shut one program down, they just open up another one, and then it takes another 20, 30, 40, 50 years until that one's found out. Why do you think it just stops? Why do you think it stops? It don't stop. They continue, man. They just under different guise, right? So it mentioned evidence, right? You mentioned lack of evidence. You mentioned lack of evidence to indicate if a conspiracy theory is true or not. But can evidence be manipulated to hide a conspiracy? Right, so one of the things it mentions, obviously, the lack of evidence can indicate that a conspiracy is not true, but it's also possible for them to hide the evidence. So how are you supposed to determine whether or not it's true or not, right? And that's what, we'll go back to determine the source. Our source is the scriptures, right? The concrete foundation of truth, right? That is our source, not David Icke, right? not him, right? He brings out some good things, but he's not the foundation, the cornerstone of truth, right? The scriptures is, right? Whether you want to believe that or not, that's down to you. But that is our cornerstone, right? And everything is happening according to that book, right? According to the scriptures, right? To that holy book. And this is where we get our discernment from, right? So let me just read some of this, and we're going to grab some scriptures, right? It says, absolutely, evidence can be manipulated or hidden to cover up a conspiracy theory. In fact, the ability to control or obscure evidence is one of the key tactics used by those involved in conspiracies. And so when the guys that are involved are at the top of the top, right, and they own the media, right, they own what information comes out, what don't come out. They own the spy agencies, the CIAs, the FBI's, the police forces, and they own them. They got Masons and all them men up in the higher places, the judges. They are absolutely about control. The elite are absolutely about control, and you don't think, right, that they can't manipulate what you see and what you believe, right? They hide what they want to hide. They show you what they want to show you, right? And they'll have you talking about it. And like I said, some of us, making some of us look crazy because like there's no paper trail. There's no way to, officially find them out yet. So we look crazy, right? People look crazy when they talk about the elites and what they're doing. Right? Like I said, when people talking about bloody reptilians and shit, yeah, you can just kind of throw that in the bin, right? There ain't no aliens, right? From bulbous-headed beings from Mars. They ain't really going on. But on an earthly level and in a conspiratory realm, right? All this shit is going on, right? A lot of this stuff is going on, all right. These men are witches and warlocks. All this is going on, right? Now, yeah, I can't find you a document that says that. Well, you might see it. Well, so you'd even debate that. We might have to find information that this guy was a Freemason, and we might call him a witch and a warlock, but it doesn't say he's a witch. Just because he's a Mason, he's not a witch, right? It doesn't, all that magic stuff is not real. You know what I mean? You can't talk to a knucklehead. You know what I mean? But they more definitely are witches and warlocks, right? Doing sacrifices and that. Because where do we get guys like Aleister Crowley from then? You think he's the only one that was doing it? Like, come on, bro. He's not even an elite. He's not even an elite, right? There are people above him that are in high places because of their witchcraft. So, you know what I mean? So, and this is what the scripture tells us, right? So anyway, carry on. It says, In fact, the ability to control or obscure evidence is one of the key tactics used by these involved in conspiracies, right? And these are the very same dudes that own all the broadcast, the news agencies and stuff like that. They get their marching orders from the top, right? All the small hats, they run all this industry, right? This is often why conspiracies can persist for so long, because you can't find out the truth. It goes on for so long because no one can know. No one can crack or find that vital piece that blows it wide open. Right? It says despite growing suspicions or rumors. So suspicions and rumors are valid even when there's no evidence, or the evidence is hard to really put together. Right? It has to be reasonable suspicion. Right? And this is what the scripture gives us. It gives us the suspicion. When we hear something that these men are doing, we can't verify it. We never see them, right? We never caught them in an act of nine like that, right? But the likelihood of it being true, according to the scriptures, is high, because these men are doing all kind of madness and wickedness in the earth, right? So I would put that in the likely box. You know what I'm saying? I'll put that in the likely box. Something else now, that don't sound, that's not really backed by the scriptures, and doesn't really make too much sense. I'll put that in the unlikely box until further information comes out. You know what I mean? And that's how you deal with it. You deal with spiritual discernment, right? So here are a few ways in which evidence can be manipulated or hidden: withholding or destroying evidence. Oh, yeah. So what if the evidence is destroyed? Oh, the government didn't buy any hollow-tip bullets or guillotines. There's no paper trail. Oh, so why is why is there why is it spending off the books? What does that mean? When you got a black hole in resources, they don't know where that money goes. It was spent, but we don't know what on, because the shit was off the books. It's not recorded, no evidence. So yeah, when we brought that back out, when we brought that out, years back. Oh, people thought we're crazy, because guillotines is going to be a prominent feature in the end times, man. Because scripture speaks about the men of the Lord being beheaded. So how's that going to happen? What's the most logical way that it could happen? Right? It'll be a long thing for a man to stand up, to go back to what old Victorian days or whatever it was, man to get the executioner with the axe. Long things, right? Imagine how many people they got to get rid of. The most efficient way to do it is with the guillotine. Right? So, and again, that which featured prominently in the French Revolution. Right? Yeah, so when we saw that, we jumped on it, because it was scripturally valid. Right? It made sense. Okay, did we see them? No. Okay, but there was a leak. Someone said something. Right? Someone said something, right? And it got out there, right? Because one person said it or whatever, don't mean it wasn't true. Right? But like I said, there is some sort of backing to it, according to the scriptures. Anyway, it says how it works. The simplest way to hide conspiracy is to suppress the evidence altogether. This can include destroying documents, confiscating files, or even tampering with physical evidence. Example, in the Watergate scandal, the Nixon administration attempted to destroy tapes that could have implicated the president. It sounds like Trump right now. In some instances, documents or evidence can be lost or misfiled to prevent discovery. Okay, because what about all the Hillary Clinton emails and stuff like that? Why ain't they come out? They hold back information, right? They know stuff, and people are implicated and whatever, and so they all wood on each other. 2, disinformation, how it works. This is when false or misleading information is spread to divert attention or confuse investigators. That's what the news is for. To divert your attention from actual issues that are going on, or deeper issues that are going on. And you got a whole bunch of shields on the internet, just Alex Jones and them dudes, pointing you in different directions, and It can be a deliberate attempt to muddy the waters and make it difficult to distinguish truth from falsehood. And that's what we deal with today. It's difficult to distinguish truth from falsehood. And you have to have a spiritual and discerning eye to really make sense of it all, man. What actually matters, what's important, what's not. Example, during the MK Ultra program, the CIA has spread disinformation. Who did it? The CIA spread disinformation. What, you think they still ain't do it? They ain't doing that now? A misdirection to prevent the public from discovering the true nature of the experiments. They also actively try to discredit people who might have exposed the program. Is this not the same thing that they do during the CV? Wasn't it the same thing going on? Slander campaign, you know what I mean? You know? Falsifying evidence, how it works. Conspirators can plant fake evidence. Oh, how did the passport survive 9/11? Everything else was burnt, right? But the passports, they were pristine. You know, pristine passports. And that was your evidence that you might went into the Middle East and bombed everybody. It's crazy, right? Just one example. Can plant fake evidence to create a narrative that supports their version of events. This can range from planting forged documents, passports, right, to fabricating physical evidence like fingerprints and photos. And now it can get even worse because now Esau got the AI technology, man. He can put your face on a body in a place that you never was. You know, your voice, everything. He can fabricate a whole situation that never happened. He got crisis actors. You know what I mean? Like, Esau is on the next level when it comes to control and, you know, controlling information. It's next level. I wonder if it's going to mention crisis actors. That's a deep one still. Can range from planting forged documents to fabricating physical evidence like fingerprints or photos. Example, in some high-profile cases, authorities have planted evidence at crime scenes to implicate innocent people. People had no involvement in it. And Esau's going to do that again, especially concerning us. Right? While it's rare at large scales, the act of falsifying evidence to create a cover-up is a powerful tool in hiding conspiracies. Manipulating media and public perception. Manipulating media. There we go. That's what I mentioned, right? How it works. The media can be a powerful tool for shaping public opinion, and conspirators might exploit this to discredit dissenting voices or manipulate how the public perceives the situation. For example, during the Tuskegee syphilis study, the US government was able to keep the study under wraps for decades. In part, this was due to the media's initial reluctance to report on exploitation of black men in the South, compounded by widespread racist attitudes at the time. Confusing issues with complexities, how it works. Some conspiracies are hidden through the sheer complexity of the matter, right? What's going on is not a simple thing. There's many layers to it, right? And Esau attacks on a multifaceted level, man. Like I said, he will tell you the truth and tell you the lie at the same time, right? He'll make up multiple lies, right? Varying different versions of something. He'll throw different numbers, you know, he'll do all kinds of things just to keep you confused, right? And that is the true state of people, in confusion, right? It says by overwhelming the public with technical jargon or obscure details. Yeah. Conspirators can make it hard to follow the facts and prove that something is wrong. Right? Like how they fudge the numbers with the economy and stuff like that. You think everything's okay. But no, we're in a recession. Everyone's getting fucked. You know? They do it all the time. Okay? This is an example in many corporate scandals such as Enron, right? The inner workings of financial fraud were so complex and opaque that it took years for investigations to untangle the truth. In such cases, complicated financial structures are used to hide fraudulent activities, right? Who owns all these companies and these banks and stuff like that doing all these scandals? You know, what, LIBOR and I don't know. They've got all these other different name ones, right? They're always doing it. Always trying to find some way to do something illegal. You know. So this whole system is rigged towards wickedness, man, and deception. But you don't think that certain conspiracies could be true? Yeah, I think you're being a bit naive. Coercion and intimidation, how it works. Witnesses, whistleblowers, or individuals who could expose a conspiracy may be intimidated, coerced, or be silenced in some way, right? And we got examples. These guys might be plants. I don't know, right? Because again, there's nothing to verify on these things yet. But the cases with like Julian Assange with the WikiLeaks and or Edward Snowden, what he leaked out and whatever, right? Obviously, they were trying to put pressure on the dudes, but they would already release their information, right? Sometimes, some men can't get a big enough platform to release their information, and so they're telling people here and there on the radio show or podcast or something, I don't know, right? And eventually these guys get waxed, right? And they go missing, they spoke too much, right? That's coercion and intimidation, right? So, witnesses, whistleblowers, or individuals who could expose a conspiracy may be intimidated, coerced, or silenced in some way. This could range from threats to actual harm. Example, in the COINTELPRO operation, the FBI used intimidation tactics to silence dissenting voices in the civil rights movements. Activists were surveyed, harassed, and threatened to prevent them from exposing what the FBI was doing. You don't think Esau won't come with that, with the violence? Because he will. How much more is here? Right. Classified information and legal obstacles. Yeah. Man, throw the hurdles in front of you. How it works. Some conspiracies involve classified government documents or intelligence operations, which are often shielded from public scrutiny or national security reasons, right? Or it's, classified, or, a matter of national security, all that stuff. And it might be. Again, it might not be, and they're just saying it. And then, you get the documents, it's heavily redacted. You can't fucking read no sentences. You don't know what the fuck's going on. The legal system can also be used to keep certain details hidden. You got judges on the payroll, you know what I mean? In these, certain circles, right? An example, the Iran-Contra affair was initially hidden under a veil of national security concerns. With key evidence classified, it wasn't until investigative journalism and congressional hearings that the full extent of conspiracy was revealed. Right? It's because they're doing mad wickedness. That's why it's classified. How do we know if evidence is being manipulated? It is challenging to definitively prove that evidence is being manipulated without having access to additional sources of whistleblowers. Right? So, but when the whistleblowers were coming out, certain doctors and that kind of stuff, during the CEV, they were getting shut down. You was being told not to listen to them because the government was the one telling you what was right and what was not. Going on fully on what's that movie? I've got it here somewhere. George Orwell's 1994 or some shit. Where is it? 1894. Yeah, George Orwell's 1984, man. Going full 1984 on these dudes, man. Telling them that we're the government, we trust the science. But you had doctors out there saying this shit was no good. So you have whistleblowers, but they get demonized, vilified. That's them controlling and manipulating, right? This is So however, there are some indicators that can raise suspicions, right? Inconsistencies if official reports, statements, or pieces of evidence contradict each other or don't align with what is observable. And the thing is, the witchcraft is heavy what they're doing out here, man, because those things are actually going on in front of your face. The contradictions that these men do all the damn fucking time, and yet people want to listen to them and believe them anyway. When you point out the contradiction or something, it's like it just goes over their head. It's like they're ignorant to it. Or don't align with what is observable. It may be a sign of manipulation. It's like, everyone that was dropping dead after the whole, the sea situation, right? Because due to the, with the V shots and that kind of stuff. Like, oh no, it's nothing to do with that. Well, it's just telling on something just after the thing and after everyone took the V, that and are having heart issues and dropping like it's hot. You know what I'm saying? That's just coincidence, is it? That was observable, man, and everyone could see it. Everyone, you know what I mean? But we was told, it's got nothing to do with that. Whatever, man. Anyway, it may be a sign of manipulation. Delayed investigations. If investigations into a matter seem to be stalled, delayed, or suddenly lose focus, that's why things are in the news one moment and gone the next. Like, oh, Pizzagate, what happened? No one ever hears about that again. Oh, focus on Jeffrey. He's dead now, but you're focusing on Jeffrey. Like, what this list? Oh, what's happened to the list? Oh, we don't know. You know what I mean? It's just one thing after another. They throw your attention somewhere else, and that just go nowhere either. That comes out the news, quickly. It's just constant, right? Or suddenly lose focus. It could indicate that powerful entities are preventing the truth from coming out, right? Yeah. Whistleblowers. Often it takes someone on the inside, like a whistleblower or dissenter, to expose the truth when the evidence has been manipulated. Independent verification. Sometimes independent investigators or media outlets will uncover pieces of evidence that were previously hidden, helping to confirm suspicions. While it's certainly possible for evidence to be manipulated to cover up conspiracy, it doesn't mean every suspicious event or theory is part of a larger plot, which is true. But guarantee, if the media outlets are feeding it to you, it's for a particular intention. Critical thinking and methodical approach to analyzing evidence are crucial in distinguishing between actual conspiracies and misinformation. Do you think we live in the age where it's harder or easier to expose these kind of cover-ups, considering how connected the world is now? Both. It's both, right? And that's why, who is it, man? Was it a Rockefeller that said it, man? Maybe it should have never been created, right? Because although it's increased their ability to do things, it's also increased men like us to get the truth out there. So it's a double-edged sword, the internet, so it's both, ultimately, because people are more confused than ever, man, I'll tell you that, right? One last question, we'll get some scriptures. Can these powerful entities control main media outlets? There we go, right? Yes, powerful entities can and often do exert influence or control over mainstream media outlets. And this is why people go in, they go into alternative news, right? But it's looked at like that anybody that deals with alternative news is a conspiracy nut. But but the main media outlets are working for the rich and powerful, the elites. And so they have a vested interest to manipulate your perspective on things. You see? They want us to trust them. How? Now, yeah, I might not be able to trust, user David Icke Lover 001 or something like that, because he found some news out or whatever. Yeah, I might not be able to trust everything the guy is saying. He might have some points, but at the end of the day, you have to kind of use your own discernment, man. Because one thing's for sure, these media outlets that you turn on your TV, these main ones and that, they're just feeding you garbage most of the time. Says, although the extent and nature of that control can vary, this influence doesn't necessarily mean outright ownership or direct manipulation in every case, but rather involves shaping the narrative in ways that align with their interests. There are several ways this can happen, right? Ownership, blah, 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 government influence and censorship, advertising economic pressures, journalist bias and political influence, public relations and media manipulation, social media algorithm control, YouTube, access to information and official sources, right? But that's all I'm going to read from this anyway. I think you understand the point of what I'm getting at. So let's get scriptures, right? So Matthew 24 verse 24 says, "For there shall arise false anointings and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect." Right? As men of the law, we're going to be up on game, because we're going to have spiritual discernment that others are not going to have. All right, so they can deceive others, but they're not going to deceive the elect. So the elect are going to seem crazy in this world because the majority of the world is not going to accept things that we speak about, right? But we know there's powers at work that are working against the world, that are working against us, right? So we have to be aware, right? We have to be spiritually minded, and right. 2 Corinthians chapter 2 verse 11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, because he's got an advantage of everybody else, because they believe the lies, right? For we are not ignorant of his devices. We're not ignorant of his works, what he's doing out here, what he's trying to achieve, and the lies he's prepared to do, or the lies he needs to tell. Okay, we're not ignorant of those things, right? So we know what they got the NWO agenda and stuff like that, right? We know he wants to get the MOTB out here, right? And he's working on all this digital technology. We know it's not because what they tell you always is progression, and we're gonna help people get access to whatever, right? We know it's for nefarious reasons as opposed to to benefit people, because that's what the scripture states, right? Because what have they been doing that's only benefited people? Everything that's been going on recently, man, like people losing jobs and all these riots and the poor getting poorer, it's not benefiting people. People are becoming worse and worse as time goes on. So why do you think that the next phase or the next part of this is gonna buck the trend? It ain't. It's all heading to that moment where he's gonna come out as the devil and declare martial law and order and a new system. That's what it's gonna do, right? That's what he's doing. It's Psalm 64 verse 2. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, right? So we know they're guys talking against us, against the people, right? We know the elites out there having these secret councils talking against us, planning and plotting against the people, not planning good things for them. And these are the same people that are in control, right? Of what you know, what you don't know. They're in control of that, right? So hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly they do shoot him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. These men ain't out here to do good. All right, so best believe if something mass happening, they'll plan that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, but there's no proof. I don't know what you want, bro. You could believe you live in this candy plus world that there's guys out here not trying to kill you. The elites ain't out here trying to destroy everybody and putting them in absolute poverty, right? Put them in slaves. You can believe all of that if you want, right? But you tell me this: where's your life going right now? The majority of people's lives right now is going down, like all the way down, right? So you can live in that pretend world of yours if you want. Okay, you got to open your eyes, man. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privy. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep, right? It's crazy deep. It's complex. It's complicated what they do, right? But they do it, right? Through manifold witchcraft, right? It's Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. So for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, right? But against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in higher places, right? It's not a physical fight that we're having to deal with right now, right? It's all a spiritual fight. Like I say, it's all based on the oldest works of witchcraft that they're doing, and the men of the Lord that are rolled in the Most High Spirit on the right hand side, resisting each other's mind games, so to speak. Because they're out here trying to convince everybody that these men are righteous out here. They're looking for your best interest, and they're going to lead you into a brand new world. It's going to be a great world. Let Trump sell it to you. He'll tell you. You've never seen nothing like this before. Only I could have done this. It's beautiful, big, beautiful. Anyway, right? These men are fucking clowns. Right? But it's a mental battle. It's a spiritual battle that's really going on, right? Against spiritual wickedness in higher places, right? Because the elites are in the higher places, Right? So wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Right? I believe, our knowledge, well, knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy time. Right? And our belief and our knowledge in the things of the world, based on the scriptures, is what's defending us, man. Like, knowing that we're not gonna take what these devils say on the news, and these elites, and these presidents, and like, we're not gonna take what they say at the face value. Like, we're just supposed to believe them. These men, like I said, they're not here for you. They're there for their masters, their elites. So they're all fucking lying, all actors. And they create charades, man, for you to be distracted by. It's Revelation chapter 12, verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, and called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. Right? So we already automatically know that most of what we know is fucking BS. It's all lies. These men are pushing lies like you wouldn't believe. Right? And everybody's under the influence. Right? To some level. Even people that are called themselves truthers and things like that, where they know certain things, man, but they don't know the whole picture. That's the difference between us and them. Men of the Lord, they know what the truth is. Like the entirety of it. They see the picture clearly. Right? But you got truthers that they're still believing in America, bro. It's just, America's a cesspit, and the Most High is going to wipe it off the face of the earth. Right? All you people are wicked and evil in the eyes of the Lord. Right? The only people that are going to be delivered are the Lord's elect. All right? So, we're not going to play, we don't like those. We're not going to play those types of games and, comparing this with that, because those even those truths are not on that level. Even though they come out with interesting shit, but it just confirms what we already know, essentially, right? But the whole world is on the deception, right? So automatically you should be distrusting in what you hear from the world, especially these main outlets. But everything else you have to filter. You have to filter it through the scriptures. That's your ground zero right there. That's your cornerstone, right? That is what you filter everything through, and then you decide whether or not that's likely or not likely to be true. Man, I say, oh, remember they got UFOs in Roswell or Area 67 or whatever the fuck that place is, right? We know they ain't got no fucking UFO. Got some alien technology. You know what, bro? Come on, man. They ain't no such thing as aliens, bro. Right? The UFOs, what you're talking about, are really the chariots of the Lord, the angels, and Esau ain't doing shit to that. He ain't capturing none of that. You can't even keep up with the damn thing. How's he gonna shoot it? How's he gonna bring it down? That'd be dumb. Yeah, that's just to get you people all that's just to help with those conspiracy theories. You know what I mean? Let's say he controls and manipulates all different types of theories. Also, he throws his own conspiracy theories out there because he wants you to be distracted and make you believe something that ain't true as well. Like he's working on many different levels, man. So really, you got to use the scriptures to make that discernment. All right. So yeah, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. All right, that's what's going to happen. This is Isaiah 25 verse 7 says, and he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast of all people. Right, the whole world's in darkness. They don't know. They don't see. Some might have parts of the truth, but these men ain't got it. Ultimately, right? They've been deceived on some type of level, right? So the veil is cast over them, right? It's just the elect they see, right? They've been given the eyes to see and the ears to hear, all right? And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. Spread by who? I mean, ultimately the Heavenly Father, but Esau's the one doing it, right? So I'm going to close up with this. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse... let's see here. Verse 10, right? But God hath revealed them unto us by his Spirit. There's only some things you can understand through the Spirit, because like I said, there's no verifiable evidence that this is going on or that's going on, or this happened, or whatever the case may be. You have to really just use the spiritual discernment. The Most High provides you with that, right? It says, for the Spirit searching for all things. So we haven't got to go search. We haven't got to go find it out. Maybe Alex Jones cronies, they go do that. Maybe, someone out there does it. And really, that information gets relayed out there, and we get hold of it, and we read it, we make our judgment on it. We don't accept just because some weirdo brought it out and it sounds kind of crazy. We should have grabbed that. No, we'll read it and discern it. We'll filter it, right, and decide if that's likely to be true or not, or if that's true, or if it's not all true. You know what I'm saying? We will do that. We don't need to be told by other people. Okay? But God have revealed them unto us by his Spirit. For the Spirit that searcheth all things, yea, the deep things of the Most High. For what man knoweth the things of a man, save the spirit of a man that which is in him? Even so the things of God knoweth no man, but the Spirit of God. Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit which is of God, that we might know the things that are freely given to us by God. Which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Ghost teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. All right, so everything we receive, everything that we hear, we have to really filter it through the Spirit, through the scriptures, man. And it's not possible to know everything that's going on the planet. All will be revealed in time. Right, but what we do come across, man, we'll look at it. We'll like I said, filter it, and then we'll determine whether or not that's likely to be true, or there's some truth to it, or whatever the case may be. Right, according to the scriptures. Okay, we don't just run off of any conspiracy theory that we hear, because I say a lot of them are just mad. A lot of them are just mad. But according to the foundation, right, of the scriptures. Verse 14, but the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God. Right, so they're not likely to believe in the things that we believe in, because it's too spooky for them, right? For they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. They're not able to see it, so they can't make the judgment, right? They make a judgment based on their eyes. Or with the evidence says this. Well, who provided the evidence? The same person that doesn't want you to find out, right? As we read, they do that, right? So, but they want to live in that simplistic world where, nothing is, out of place kind of thing. If it's just coincidence, no one's plotting against nobody, and, the elites ain't trying to put you in the dirt, all that kind of stuff. They just want to work the 9 to 5 and work hard and get that house and whatever. They want to keep life simple, in the little bubble, right? Like an ostrich was it ostrich heads in the sand? Yeah, they just want to keep themselves there. They ain't gonna worry about nothing else going on around them. Someone else will take care of it. You know what I mean? These men are on the case. We believe that. No, it's not true though. They're working against you, man. They ain't trying to sell nothing for you. Anyway, how long has it been there? Damn. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to call it a day on this one. So, Lord willing, this has been edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.